Thank you, Madhvi. Om Shanti. Good morning, good evening to everyone. It's really lovely to be back with the Wands family. And I'm so sorry, Madhvi. I was sitting there quietly the whole time listening to you speak to people, thinking, oh, this is so nice to hear all this conversation. I had forgotten I was supposed to open my camera. So I'm very sorry about that. So we started a little bit late, but it will still be very lovely. It's one of these situations where I don't get to see anyone, but I know you can chat in the box. So I'll do my best not to pay too much attention to the chat box and just
Please.
keep
Yeah,
moving with the theme. Yeah, and let
that would
Madhvi
be
will cover all.
lovely. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much.
It is 6:30 in the morning here, and as the seasons are changing, it is just now getting light. We have had a drought and extreme wildfires. In fact, 2 kilometers from where I live here at the meditation center, we had a wildfire that forced us to pack for evacuation. We didn't have to evacuate, and last night, for the first time in several months, we had rain. Lots of rain. And so I don't think it's put the fires out, but it's certainly helping the ground. So apparently we need 3 days of continuous rain for the fires to stop. In the meantime, the firefighters are working on that. So I join you here from an early morning Canada, fresh after a lovely rain, and pretty excited about this topic. And I really appreciate, Madhvi, you and the team doing this for so many years. I know I listen to the recordings of the other ones and I love them. So very happy to be part of this family. And the theme, four faiths, I love this theme actually. And I will share with you, it is something that we refer to here in the Brahma Kumaris. So most regular students of the Brahma Kumaris would have heard the four faiths because there are four faiths that we are, I guess, practicing having. We are practicing. Um, we are developing, let's say. So I'd like to explore what the four faiths are with you, but we're going to start with what is faith anyways, because that in and of itself is something interesting to explore. And then we'll get into the four faiths. So the purpose for me for today would be just to explore a little bit what is faith, to deepen the faith that you already have. Because honestly, I don't think we can get up every morning unless we have faith that the sun is going to shine or that the daylight will come or that there is a new day to greet us. So I think we're operating with faith anyways, but deepening, making you aware even of the faith that you do have. And I met somebody the other day who said to me they were a person of faith. And I asked her, "Do you mean religion?" And she said, "Well, I am Catholic, I'm very devout Catholic." She said, "But no," she said, "I just have faith." And it's the first time I've heard someone kind of refer to themselves as a person of faith independent of religion. And I think that's what this session is about, is I think we can all be people. I think we all are people of faith. The question is how much we're using the faith that we have. So I would like to explore that with you today. Um, I brought some quotes because I find them interesting to see how other people try and describe an energy that is otherwise quite incognito, quite invisible. And so I brought a series of quotes, and let's see which one resonates for you in an attempt to define this thing we call faith. So, one of them here: faith is seeing light with your heart when all your eyes see is darkness. I think that's relevant today. Faith is believing before what will only make sense after. So I'm going to translate the word believing into knowing. Faith is kind of quietly knowing something that after makes sense. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for and the conviction of things not seen. We have had BK Shivani here for the last week. And those of you who know her, she's a worldwide phenomenon, the face of the BKs internationally, of the Brahma Kumaris. Very lovely speaker. She walks her talk. She's a student, like the rest of us, of Raj Yoga. And she uses affirmations. And I used to use affirmations before being a student here with the BKs. And I found they didn't really do anything for me. And then I realized it's because there was no conviction in them. I had no conviction in what I was saying to myself. So, this energy of faith is a form of conviction. So, we'll explore this a bit more. So, another one, Martin Luther King, faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. So, what makes a person leap forward or even take the first step on a big journey, even knowing inside it's a big journey? I don't know what'll happen next, but I begin. It's faith. It's faith that has us do that. And I love this, Khalil Gibran. Faith is an oasis in the heart which will never be reached by the caravan of thinking. So somehow faith is an energy that's different than thinking. Faith could guide our thinking, or doubt could guide our thinking, both energies in me, the soul. But faith is an oasis in the heart, which will never be reached by the caravan of thinking. Beautiful. And I think two more here, trusting fully in what you cannot explicitly prove. Trusting fully in what you cannot explicitly prove. You know, when we teach the lesson about being a soul, that I am a being, I am the living, thinking being in this physical body. We cannot see a soul. We cannot prove a soul. We have a brother here who's a brain surgeon, one of Canada's most famous neurosurgeons. And I asked him a while ago, have you ever seen a soul in there when you're cutting the brain apart? He said, no, don't be silly. You can't see the soul. So trusting fully what you cannot explicitly prove. So we see the effect of the soul. It moves the body. When the soul's not there, it becomes a corpse. In the same way, faith is an energy that you see the effect of it and how I move through life. Can't prove it. And the last one, faith is something that will give you the strength to keep going when everything else tells you to stop. A little story for you. In one of the books, this one I just edited, I just compiled. I wrote some bits of it, but mostly they're stories from around. And one of these lovely stories from Japan. Once a group of villagers decided to pray for rain. On the day of prayer, all the people gathered, but only one boy came with an umbrella. That is faith. So I like to think of faith as it's an active energy that empowers me to continue between times when seeing the outcome is not possible. It's a quiet knowing. So in the Brahma Kumaris, we like to distinguish the difference between blind faith and faith with understanding. So because I've had an experience of success, or I've had an experience of myself as a soul, or I've had an experience of connecting to the divine energy, because I've had this experience, then when I'm not having that experience, faith is the energy that carries me till the next moment when I have that experience. It's like a bridge. It's a bridging energy. But it's belief when I don't have the experience. And we might call it blind faith when I don't, it's not based on an experience. When it's based on an experience, then of course that gives me even more energy of faith. But faith is that energy that carries me between the moments when I'm having the actual experience. I like to think of it as a quiet knowing. So, are you a person of faith? I might just take a moment to think about that wherever you are. And those who know me know that I like to do little exercises in these sessions. It's a bit of a stretch on Zoom, but somehow it always works. So I'm going to invite you to do something right now with me, if you will. I'm going to invite you to stand up from your chair wherever you are. And this is going to be very simple. It's not going to be very demanding. I'm just going to ask you to stand up wherever you are sitting and just move your, I'm going to crouch a little so you can still see me, move your arms, maybe do a stretch, maybe roll your shoulders, do something just to engage your body and let your body, release any tension and now I'm going to ask you to sit. And we come back together now. Sit. All right. Very simple question for you. How many of you questioned whether the chair would be there when you sat? I can't see your hands, but that's okay. I know you're thinking about it. How many of you actually wondered whether the chair would be there versus how many of you just sat? I know I just sat. And on what basis did I just sit? It's actually on the basis of faith. The chair was there, and I experienced the chair. Therefore, I didn't really have to think about would it be there when I sat. That is faith. That is the energy of faith. It's like I don't think every morning, will the sun come up? I might think, will I see the sun through the clouds? But I don't ask, will the sun come up? So this is the energy of faith, quiet knowing. Why is it relevant now? Oh gosh, I think all of us understand what's going on in the world is frightful, distressing, difficult. And why is faith relevant now? Honestly, I think as everything, systems break down, things get stripped away, the things we used to rely on, I think more and more we are turning inwards to that quiet knowing, to an energy inside of us that is invisible. Um, we can see that there are good things happening beneath the surface. We don't see the effect of it yet, but I think it's very relevant for us to be tapping into faith now. So, what are the four faiths that we explore in the Brahma Kumaris? And oh, yes, and honestly speaking, for me, the question is not, do you have faith? I think the question is, on what basis can we have faith? So that's what I'd like to explore here in the four faiths. On what basis can we have faith? We have an understanding here that if you use faith, it grows. So, for instance, if I have faith in my children, somehow they feel my faith and they are stronger and they do better. If they feel my doubt, then they doubt themselves. It's an energy we transfer to each other. So by having faith, by using faith, it actually grows. It grows faith in other people. It grows faith and it grows positive outcomes. In that way, faith becomes a strategic choice and a choice for living. So I'm using faith a lot more these days than I did before becoming a student here. And I have noticed that my faith is growing. It's one of those things that, how do you know if you can trust someone? Well, trust them and then you'll find out. It's like that. How do you know faith works? Use it. And then you discover, oh, well, that helped in this situation, didn't it? I think trust is very personal. I think faith is more of an energy, an active energy that we use in the world. So the question is not, do you have faith, but on what basis can we have faith? So here's the four faiths. The first one is faith in a higher being. So for those of us who kind of always had in my case, it was a Sunday school, it was a church connection to God, and I was told God was this punishing being that I should be afraid of. And yet, as a little child, I always felt God was like an invisible friend. He was like a good guy in my life. Um, when we become adults, we have to make our way to understanding, well, who is this higher being and what really is the purpose of this higher being? And our understanding here at the Brahma Kumaris is that, of course, that higher being is entirely loveful, is entirely pure and benevolent, giving, 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 giving always, never punishing. But we have to make our own journey with this. So, faith, one of the faiths, and not the first, because they all work together, the four of them. But the first one in my acronym here for faith is a higher being. Next one, faith in me, faith in myself, faith in I, the soul. So this is different than having faith in Judy. Judy's got, her own things, but faith in I, the soul. So there's a difference there I'll explore in a bit. So that's the second faith. The third faith, faith in the theater of life. We call it the drama here. But the theater, Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage and every person on it is an actor. So, this theater of life we see unfolding around us, having faith in that. And the fourth faith is the faith in humanity. And it's very interesting when we ask people, how much faith do you have in humanity? If you listen to the surface level talk, you don't get a sense that there's much faith in humanity. But when you explore a little deeper with people, it's very interesting how many people seem to feel, no, 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 I think humanity's going to come around. Very interesting. So those are the four faiths I'd like to explore with you this morning in the next half hour before we go into questions. And let's see what you make of it. So we're going to do them one at a time. And we'll save the questions for later if I've missed anything. So, faith in God, faith in a higher being, I think is based on your experience of feeling supported in some way. So many people pray to God, and if they feel that a prayer has been answered, then their faith would grow. If you feel that in praying to God, maybe that thing you were praying for did not happen, but you felt better. Somehow you had more strength to face whatever you had to face in the situation. Again, the feeling of support. So, faith in a higher being, you can recall in your own life if there have been moments where you were up against the wall or in a hard place or in a difficult situation. And in when times are going well, we don't tend to think about God. When times are tough, that's usually the moment where we're not feeling support from anywhere else and maybe not even feeling our own strength. In those moments, we tend to call out to God. And it's interesting to examine in your own history, your own experience, in those moments, what has happened for you, or even the fact that in a tough moment, that's the time you find yourself calling out to a God you didn't think you believed in. I heard an interview once with a Darwin scholar, somebody who had written all about Charles Darwin's life and was a self proclaimed evolutionist. And the interviewer was exploring, did he have any faith in God? Was God part of his life at all? And no, 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 don't be silly. There is no such thing as God. The interview continued, and she asked him at one point, I don't think this was a setup, but she asked him at one point, um, so, the title of Darwin's original book, I know there was a subtitle to it. What was it? It was the evolution of species or the whatever. What was the subtitle? And he became um, a bit agitated because he couldn't remember. And it's like he was caught off guard. And he said on TV, on in this interview, he said, "Oh my God, I can't remember." And she laughed and they laughed together because in this moment where he had lost his own authority, his own memory, his own expertise, the first word out of his mouth was, "Oh my God." So, anyways, each of us has our different experiences. And, in the Brahma Kumaris, we're not about um, selling faith in God. It has to be based on experience. So, in the meditation course, we invite people to open themselves to this possibility if they would like. And many people come back and say, I always felt it would be possible to have a direct relationship with God, but I didn't know until I actually opened, and then they had an experience. So one of the things we know, somebody wrote a book a few years ago, quite a few now, about the love languages. And I did a whole series of workshops on this once. So I really enjoyed it. I found it quite lovely. But my experience when I applied it to faith in God, I realized that actually that higher being, that higher energy, reaches out or offers support to each of us as a soul in a way that we understand. So, depending on our love language, I will feel God's support. So, if my love language is words of affirmation, then when I sit to meditate and I open my heart to God and I ask questions, or I say, "Oh, why did this happen?" Or "What am I meant to do in this situation?" Or "Oh, what do I need to access in me?" Any of these kinds of questions I might ask, instantly the word, I will feel it, I will hear it in my head. It's not like a voice, it's more like a knowing, a quiet knowing. A thought will come into my head, and it will be so affirming, will be so loving, but it'll be straight. It'll be very straight. The other day, I sat in meditation. I said, I'm not sure I'm built for this. And the instant thought that came was, well, I'm building you for this. And it was very sweet. Made me feel, oh,
I'm
sorry.
so sorry to interrupt. But
Slow.
yeah, they want you to slow down a little bit for the translation. Thank
Will
you.
do. Will do. Sorry, Madhvi. Sorry,
Okay, no, no,
translators.
no, 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 that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Um, so my experience has been, having met many people who meditate over the years with God, is that uh, each soul will experience God's love, God's support in a different way. And really, it's according to the love language. It might be that you feel God's presence, this quality of time, spending time with somebody. You might feel something gets done for you that you really could not imagine how on earth this could get done, and it happens. We might call that an act of service, and you feel God's involvement in that. It might be a gift, receiving a gift, and again, it might be a gift of something happening, or it might be something that was really needed in your life, and it comes to you as a gift, unexpected, unasked for. A physical touch. I mean, God has no physical hands, but I can say early in my life as a meditator, I went alone to a Christmas party without the partner, without the uh, yeah, without the partner. And I was alone at this party, Christmas party, and I had said to God, I said, "You're going to have to be my date, my partner for this party, because I'm quite alone at this event and feeling a little bit vulnerable." And throughout the whole party, I felt like someone had their arm around my shoulder, and it was an amazing experience. I've never really had that again, but physical touch. So the experience of being held physically was something that happened for me. So reflecting yourself on, in what way would you be able to experience support from an invisible, incorporeal divine energy, divine being, because it will be different for each of us. And so we can't compare and say, oh, God didn't burn a bush in front of me, because that's not exactly what I would experience as supportive. We do know one thing for sure, though, that the more love you have for God, the more support you will experience. It's like a two-way valve. And once it's opened, your love flows, then you receive. So that's the first faith. And I think an affirmation that we work with here, I have faith that the divine is supporting me. So to use that as an affirmation and see what happens as a result. So I'm going to move on because we've got three more, but I just want to plant these seeds of what having faith in a higher being could be. So that's our higher being. Now let's have faith in I, the soul. Let's explore what that means. So this is really faith in the self. Some of us, we have quite a track record, let's say. Faith in this area, faith in myself, is actually based on my track record, which is my history, my proven actions, not on some future possibility, but a faith on what I've done, what I've been, how I've behaved. And this is tricky because each of us has stored in our subconscious memory, we have all the memories of the actions I've performed ever. They're stored inside me. They leave a little imprint inside of me, and they're stored in the subconscious. So I, more than anyone, will remember when I behaved badly, or when I was not dignified, or when I said that thing that was hurtful, even though I really didn't want to, or when I felt, so desperate, I, did something for love or peace. I will remember all those things. And so at the surface level of my memories, what I have is surface level memories of me being mixed, sometimes very lovely, sometimes not so lovely. But I'm the one who carries these with me. So when I remember these things, it's not always true that I will have faith in myself. But when I look a bit deeper, and especially when I look back at those situations in my life, maybe when I faced something I thought would never end, or something very difficult or challenging, and I could not see a positive outcome. Maybe my own behavior was not great. Maybe, I did things I'm not proud of, whatever. But I remember back to those situations where I did not look good. I could not see how things would get better. And now, years later, I can look back and I can actually say to myself with confidence, you know, although it was bad, although it looked pretty desperate, although I did not know how I would get through that situation, financial crisis, divorce, relationship upheaval, children, difficulties, sicknesses, had that not happened, I would never have learned fill in the blank. X. I would never have learned X. I would never have developed such faith in God. I would never have developed such faith in my family and my friends to support me. I would never have learned the lesson of standing on my own 2 feet. We can fill in the blanks, but it's only in retrospect I can look back and see that, in fact, what happened through every difficult time in my life, every difficult situation, what happened is that I got through it. And on what basis did I get through it? Well, on the basis of my learning. The one and maybe only thing I can have faith on in myself is that I am committed to keep going, to learn and to grow. Even those moments when I give up, even those moments when I'm so disheartened, I think, I can't do this anymore. But somehow I look back at all those moments in my life and I can honestly say, yeah, but I learned this from that situation. Now that it's over, now that it's past, and I'm still here, I'm still standing, I can look back and say, I did get through that. And I did learn something that I would never have learned had it not been for that challenge. So here I stand on a very solid platform of faith in myself because I know my commitment to learn, to grow, to solve problems, to keep going, to discover solutions. So I can have faith in myself on this basis. And remember, our question is not, do you have faith in yourself? The question is, on what basis can I have faith in myself? And this is what it came to for me. My behavior might be variable day to day, week to week, but I do know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am very committed, that I will learn and grow, even if it's painful, even if I don't like it, even if I keep making mistakes. I can have faith in myself on this basis, and maybe on this basis alone. So just take a deep breath and see if you can soak that in for yourself. Is this true for you? Can you have faith on in yourself on this basis? The basis of your proven track record, your commitment to learn and to grow. All right. So now let's move on to number 3, faith. So this one is faith in the theater of life. It's a tricky one, isn't it, when you look around at our world? And, if we ask ourselves, well, what faith do I really have in what's going on around me right now? I see so many people in despair, really, and quite hopeless about the state of the world. We see some good things happening. We see little conversations here and there that make us think, oh, still many good people trying to do many good things. That's great. But every day, every year, something else happens, and we think, oh, my goodness, how are we going to get through this? It's not looking good. So if we think about life, you know, this theater of life that surround us that we live in every day, which basically means all the situations that are happening in my life and in the world around me. And this is what we would call the theater of life. Our faith may be wobbling right now, but let's just recall, shall we? Let's just think for a moment that, every day the sun goes down and our half of the world, our half of the planet, turns to darkness. It's completely dark, except for city lights. The sky is dark, and every morning, 12 hours later, actually, from midnight. So here, that's about 4 hours of darkness. From midnight onwards, it is the new day. So at 12:01, it's the new day. The light has not yet come, but we consider it the new day. In fact, our calendars change, our on our phones, on our computers, on our wall calendars, we have a new day. So every morning in life, the sun shines, the sun comes up, light returns to the dark half of the planet where we are living. On a regular basis, I live in a place where this is what it looks like for about 4 months, this snow, 4 months of the year, and sometimes more of it, where you can't actually see the end of the road. You kind of know there's a church there, but you can't really see it. So we live in this for 4 months of the year. It's very slippery underfoot. We're very cautious about how we walk. Sometimes I have ice grippers on the bottom of my shoes because, I fell and broke my wrist one year. It's just black ice underneath the snow. I mean, it's quite a time. We lived through this. And if we did not know that spring was coming, I don't know how we get through it, but we have total faith. We have total faith. It's a short-lived thing. It's only 4 months. It always passes. And out the other side, we always have spring. So we live, all of us, with this faith, like the chair will be there. Spring is coming. Why? Because we've lived through it every single year. Again and again and again, we repeat this cycle because life moves in cycles. Things mature over time. Bananas mature. I won't digress into which stage of maturity you like of bananas, but anyways, people mature over time. Situations mature. This is the Berlin Wall. Who would ever have thought that it would come down? Situations also mature over time. For any who saw this movie, it's a very interesting slogan to carry through life with you. Everything will be all right in the end. And if it's not all right, then it's not yet the end. So, in other words, the situation still has to mature a little bit more before we see the end. Because we live inside, the theater of life is actually a natural cycle. Nature moves in a cycle. Situations move from new to old to renew to old to renew. They mature, they rebirth. So maturity is actually the ability to see past the immediate, right? Children, we don't think of them as mature because if that toy disappears, they don't know that it's over there. Or if you tell them, well, I'm going to give it back to you in 2 minutes, they can't believe that time, that's too far. They can't hold that concept. So maturity is actually the ability to see past the immediate, to be farsighted, and to see the potential of a positive outcome. So as we meditate, we mature spiritually. In other words, our faith develops. We can see past the immediate crisis, the immediate difficulty, the immediate despair. We can see past that to what's coming because life is a cycle. So behind the curtain of sorrow that we see around us in the world at this time, we look at the world, we look at our world at the edge of a breakdown, and we know somehow we trust. We know why, because it's happened before, that our response to the crumbling of old systems is always to create new ones. Every civilization has reached a peak and crumbled and come down, and new systems have been created. So they're adaptive at first. All of our new systems, you think of our new systems during COVID, fascinating to watch how we all simplified our lives, how we all made sure we had to walk outdoors every day because it's all we could do. And there was nobody out there, no crowds. Nature was still available to us. We had new systems. Now, how many of us kept those new systems that were just adapting? We were adapting to the situation. How many kept them as a regular part of life? I know it's something I always did, so it's still part of my life. But some of the simplicity, some of the pulling away from things and just finding our own entertainment, making our own entertainment. So we began relying less, as we are doing now with tariffs and all kinds of shipping and supply chain difficulties. People have begun to rely more on local. So that was adaptive at first, but then it becomes a new pathway. This then stays, and we begin to think more locally. We begin to support our local farmers, etc. So these old things are crumbling, but new things are being developed. And they're just adaptive at first, but life finds a way. It always finds a way. How do we know that? Because it has always found a way. Faith in this situation is based on history, based on track record, based on having had the experience, and now for the new experience to come, faith is the energy that's carrying me. So, what is it that strengthens my faith in the theater of life? It can be that life has natural cycles, that always knowing that destruction always makes way for new growth. Every winter completely destroys the garden out front. The only green we see all winter are the evergreen trees. Thank goodness for them. It's the only green. Everything else is stick brown or gray or black, the gravel or the darkness of the sky, the darkness of the trees that have lost all their leaves. Rhododendrons keep their leaves all winter. But the beautiful garden, we have a stunning garden out front here, completely devastated. I mean, there's just nothing there. It sticks brown, gone all winter. It's dead. It certainly looks dead. And every spring, this is why I love tulips so much. Tulips are the first real flower that emerge standing. The crocuses come, the hyacinth, there are a few others, beautiful, but these are the first. They kind of reach well above the surface of the earth to say, we're here. It is now spring every year. And so knowing that destruction makes way for new growth. Again, the question wasn't, do you have faith? The question was, on what basis could we have faith in the theater of life? And I'm going to suggest on this basis, I have faith in the natural cycles of life, knowing that destruction makes way for new growth. So I let you sit with that just for 30 seconds. Just sit and see if you can see this around you. It's invisible, new pathways. But is it happening? Are you seeing it? And on this basis, you could have faith in the theater of life. And now, I know we only have 5 minutes now, so let's move on to the fourth. Faith. And this is the faith in humanity, closely connected to the theater of life, but different because it's people, it's souls like you and me. Of course, it's the souls that are behind the events that are happening in the theater of life, but let's look at humanity as a whole. And this is really my family of humanity. Here at the Brahma Kumaris, we think about every soul in the world as a family member. And it's based on the understanding that as a soul, we all have one parent. And so that makes all of us brothers and sisters. But as a strategy for how I look at other people in my day to day, when I start looking at them as family members, I treat them differently. I'm much more open minded, open hearted. So, this is the family of humanity, but faith in the humanity. So, on what basis could I have faith in humanity? So, what faith do I have in humanity right now as I see people doing more and more outrageous, violent, unkind things? Again, our faith might be flagging. So, on what basis could we have faith? This is a very interesting one, actually. So, this is a combination of looking at what is stored within us in our memory tracks, because all of the best of times are also recorded in the memory track of the soul. And the deepest memories are buried deepest in our subconscious. And it's interesting to watch um, to what they tickle, these memories kind of tickle as they rise to the surface inside of me, inside of the rest of us. And they tickle in very interesting forms. They tickle in the form of popular culture. The kinds of books that are being written, the kinds of movies that are being written. We went through a period where they were all apocalypse movies, end of the world movies. And I think, well, what a gift those movies gave to sort of prepare us, those of us that didn't like to think about such things, witness. And of course, always humanity comes out the other side in the movies, anyways. Um, but there are other deepest memories stored within. And, you think of fables and legends and some of these magical realism and some of the books and movies that are being written that are tuning in, tapping into our deepest memory. And one of the places where we see this happening most often is in spirituality and also religions. The legends that we tell, the great stories that we tell, where the memories in us are kind of gaps. There are gaps. We can't quite touch those deepest memories of beautiful times, times before the violence, times before the sophisticated weaponry, times before. If we just even go back in my own lifetime, the 1950s was a much simpler, more innocent time. But if we can't access all of those memories, because they go back so far. This is a quote by Abraham Verghese, a wonderful author from Ethiopia, Indian bodied, and lives in Ethiopia, now in America. He's a physician. He writes beautiful books, but this quote I took from him is that memories are woven from gossamer threads, so threads that shine, but time eats holes in the fabric. And these she must darn, so sew, with myth and fable. So the way we keep together our oldest memories is through the myths and the fables, the legends we tell each other. I live in a part of the world where the Shambhala Buddhists have established their international headquarters. And Shambhala Buddhism, they believe that Shambhala is like Shivalaya, the Garden of Eden, paradise. It's a time when the earth was pure and beautiful, and before we began hurting each other, before suffering, and that their aim is to create once again this beautiful time. But once again, meaning it once was, we now create again. So some of our fables and legends and our spiritual and religious stories are this kind of gossamer weaving. They hold together the memories, but they touch something in us. They revive an old feeling in us of what's possible for humanity. Why? Because we once lived it. So it's interesting. It's time that we awaken these memories of the golden dawn for humanity. And I don't know if you've noticed, but people are awakening because we have lived so long at the surface level of position, of religion, culture, etc., based on my IQ, based on my people, my possessions, my positions, my profession. And we've been thrashing about in sort of the noise of the surface level of life. And more people are wanting to go a little bit deeper to the core of their being. And I am finding people coming to meditation more and more and more because they are looking for the depth in themselves. They're looking to get away from this surface level noise. So souls are awakening. And on what basis can we have faith? And this is the negative story, is that there is a natural life cycle to every human system. It always starts fresh. It always starts young, birth, turns into growth, maturity, and decline. and then death. This is true for organizations. This is true for any good idea. Starts with a bang of enthusiasm, and then over time, you sustain it, and then it begins to fade. People's interest begins to fade in it because now it's old. We've done that. We've been there. So then some new wave comes, either to remake an old thing, to give it new life. So always there's a new wave. But in the death period, just before death, there's a great deal of chaos. There's a great deal of confusion and conflict, and that's the time where the new wave emerges. So this is the time that we're living now. It's the time of the new wave where people start turning inwards, looking for the energy to bring to a new world. So on this basis, we could have, if we wanted to, we could have faith that humanity will awaken, or let's put it this way, humanity is awakening. It's a bit of a bell curve. Not everybody awakens all at once. A small group begins to awaken. And if you look around at how much spirituality is growing from what was an awkward, um, uh, unnatural. People thought we were a bit weird, those of us that were meditating 28 years ago when I began. Now it's pretty mainstream. Meditation's become pretty mainstream. Why? Because humanity's awakening bit by bit, one at a time. So I'm going to come to an end here and say, on what basis could I have faith in humanity? I have faith in humanity awakening to deeper meaning, arriving at its tipping point. So both arriving at the kind of worst and being fed up with it, and turning inwards to find the best. So the four faiths, once again, a higher being, feeling supported. I, the soul, I'm going to keep learning and growing. Theater of life. Life follows cycles, and destruction always leads to new growth. Humanity, awakening, turning inwards, new creation. So, okay, I think I'm going to stop there, Madhvi, because we have to have questions. And let me stop sharing. Yeah, I'll stop sharing now. There we go. Okay.
What can I say? That was amazing. Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing your journey and the insights with us all this morning. You've not just given us ideas to reflect on, but also the gentle encouragement to really deepen our own faith, in the self, in God, in others. And I think for me, the deepest thing is within. Your warmth and first of all, your presentations are beautiful, really done very professionally, and I think everyone's appreciated that. But your warmth and lived experience has really touched each and every one of us. Now, before we move further, just want to remind everyone, especially the newcomers, that we at Brahma Kumaris offer free courses of this meditation we talk about, Raj Yoga meditation, and also we coordinate loads and loads of talks on self-development. If you wish to take the benefit of any of these free courses, connect with me in the first place, and then I'll signpost you accordingly. And yes, many of you have started writing their questions, half an hour into the talk. So I hope your questions have been answered. But if you wish to add just one or two lines, to their question, that'll be great. Okay, so shall I start now? So Jane is saying, oh, I've had a couple of guys, you've got to stop writing to me on WhatsApp because I'm going to switch that off. Well, I did switch it off, but I've got, and here, if you just say Anon, your name won't be mentioned. And many of you are signing in with your phones and, different things anyway. But I promise you, you are in a safe place and your information is not going out anywhere. Okay, so let's start. So Jade was saying, what do I do when my faith is shaken, broken? And if I'm not mistaken, somebody else, either down there or on my thing, has asked, what do I do when my faith continually gets broken? And I think he or she was talking about relationships. So I don't know
Mm,
if you want to answer them separately or um, jointly, because it covers faith is in everything. Yeah.
mhm. I thank you. That's a good question. And I think having our faith shaken in some ways is a bit of a motivator to to meditate. I know most for me, when my faith in myself was broken, when my faith in others was broken, that was actually the very moment in my life where I did turn to meditation, where meditation came to me, this practice or spirituality, let's say, came to me so that I could understand things at a much deeper level. And I could see that my patterns were setting me up for failure, were setting me up to experience more hurt because I had a pattern of expecting hurt. I had a pattern of not discerning accurately in situations where, now I'm wiser. Now I'm smarter. And I don't need as much from other people now because I'm getting it through my meditation. I'm getting it from God. I'm getting it from inside myself. So there's all kinds of reasons that take us into situations where our faith is broken. And I found that spirituality helped me explore and heal those reasons. So I would say, don't give up. Have faith in yourself to look for a deeper answer and to give yourself the chance to heal whatever it is in you that is, because it takes two to tango in any situation. There's the one that's done something to break my trust, let's say, but faith in my ability to stand up again, faith in my ability to learn and create better relationships, and faith even in another soul to make their way through their own brokenness, to find healing if they want. But every soul's got their own journey. Have faith that soul will do what they need to do on their journey. So I hope that's helpful.
Lovely. Yes. So,
Mm.
sorry, a message just come through on my thing. Do I have to do your meditation course to attend these classes? No, my dear friend. You are welcome to join us anytime, every time. There is absolutely no compulsion. But if somehow your interest is triggered, then you connect with me. Okay, thank you. So don't worry about that. Sean is saying, what if I'm not really convinced about God? Also, how to balance trust with caution in relationships. Sorry for early
Mm.
question, because he wrote, I think he sent these about half an hour ago. Bless you. Thank you, Sean. Okay.
Yes, about God. I mean, conviction about God. I think honestly, if you are struggling in any way, if there's any sorrow in you that you have lost this conviction or you don't have a conviction in God, that says that you deeply would like that. Therefore, know that God is there and listening and is just waiting for the moment for you to be available. That he can touch you. He can show himself, reveal himself to you. And as I said earlier, that will come in a way unique to you. God knows you better than you know yourself. So while you're expecting him to do a big bang thing, like maybe a friend has had or something, it might come to you in a most simple, subtle way. So just stay open and use faith to say, okay, God, if you're there, really happy for you just to show up. Okay, because no one else can prove to me that you're there, and I'm not really feeling it. So just see what happens. Treat it like an experiment and just put aside for a moment any of the discursive, doubting conversation you have with yourself, because that creates a lot of internal noise, and God can't really get through that. You have to be willing. So open yourself and see what will happen.
Lovely, thank you. So now there seem to be, okay, iPhone is asking two questions, but the first question is sort of linked to an anonymous one that I've had on WhatsApp. So I'll read them both out to you, please. Um, so how do faith and effort work together? And the other one is, what is the relationship between faith and hope?
Lovely. All
Faith,
right.
faith,
Let me
hope,
make sure
and
I
effort.
understand
Yeah.
both of them. First one, faith and effort, and then faith and hope. Okay. That's such a lovely question. I feel like my effort is at this point in my journey, my effort is to use faith more rather than using my own thinking. And before, my effort was okay, show up on time, be here for class study, sit and try to concentrate in my meditation. There was a little bit more force in all of that. Now, on a minute to minute basis, I can switch. My effort actually is to switch from me trying to push my way through or finesse my way through a situation to me just stopping and using faith. I have creating an awareness. This is going to go well. This will be lovely. This person and I have a deep connection, and isn't it a beautiful one? Using that kind of self talk, which is actually based on faith, to use that, that's my effort now.
Mm.
And it's so much easier to move through life like that, I must say. So that's my answer to that one. Faith and hope. Um, step follows step, hope follows courage. I think that faith allows me to take the step. And that step actually is a step of courage that then creates hope. You can't sit still and have hope just show up. You actually have to do something. So faith guides me to take a step of courage. Hope is the result of that.
It's interesting you've talked about this. If you can expand it to the difference between faith and beliefs.
Faith and
Beliefs.
belief. Yeah. I mean, we were raised with many beliefs, all of us. My parents told me God was going to punish me if I didn't eat my peas. I mean, we were raised inside of many, many beliefs. And as we grow older, we begin to discern which belief was really just fantasy. And I was told this as a way to control me. And therefore it wasn't really ever true. But what's worse is it still controls me. So when I begin my journey of inner freedom, I no longer want to be controlled by beliefs that are not true. So my journey is to discern layer upon layer upon layer in me as the soul shines more brightly, gets more power internally. My inner light begins to shine. And what it does is it shines light through those wrong beliefs. But what's interesting is I begin to see even more of them and more of them as the inner light shines brighter. I begin to see, oh, and I believe that myself. Gee, I didn't know that belief was controlling me, that I'm not worthy or that I'm not good enough. These are beliefs and they control me and they have kept me very limited and they have kept me very unhappy, actually. And the more I'm discovering the beauty of the soul, the less hold these beliefs have on me. So this is our journey, is separating those beliefs from, well, what's really true about me. And faith, again, allows me to take the first step on that journey and keep taking steps on that journey.
Beautiful. I love that. Okay, so I've got a question also, but if anyone's got a burning question, one person, please, one question we can take. Okay. Meanwhile, thank you for all your lovely comments and interaction with each other, etc. And Judy, everyone's so happy. They've loved your presentation. They think you've simplified the topic and made it so easy for everyone to really get into it. So Daksha is saying that there's a book by Mike George, Being Yourself, and she says it's very helpful too. Then there was something else. Yeah, Companion of God. Okay,
Mm.
right. So anyway, but there are lots of lovely books by Judy. Okay, if you go on the website Inspired Stillness, you will be able to see that. Yeah, yeah. Lots of thanks to you. Now let me come to this. So Karina is saying that she is practicing meditation. Um, how can she deepen that connection with God? Now, I think you answered it beautifully earlier, saying that, it's really put a challenge to and sort of, say, oh, show me. Yeah. But
Mhm.
is there a
Mhm.
gentler, simpler way before so this person is, absolutely committed to to develop this communication and a relationship with a higher power. So share your thoughts on that, please.
Mm. Mm, I would say, from my experience, just keep going, just showing up. Just keep showing up day after day. It's like a drop, a drop, a drop. Before you know it, there's a bucket full. Just show up every day, because what happens is you don't even know the glass ceiling between you and God. When they refer to glass ceiling of women breaking through the hierarchy in business, or, there's many, many glass ceilings. Honestly, I think the deepest and most obstructive glass ceiling we all live with is that ceiling between us and God. And that is built of all those wrong beliefs we have about God. That is built on all those wrong beliefs we have about ourselves. And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating to meditate every day, to be soul conscious. But if you're soul conscious in your meditation, you actually feel pretty good. So you're okay that maybe God didn't
Mm,
show up. But the thing is, if you are soul conscious, you always feel that close connection to God. So the real challenge is to practice being soul conscious, not thinking I'm a soul, thinking I'm Judy who's a soul. No, 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 no.
yeah,
We have to go way behind the mask of Judy. We have to come into
yeah.
that very silent inner space, and not just be quiet, but actually be aware that I am that pulse, that energy pulse behind the eyes. And when I have that experience, uh, then it's like the right frequency to tune in to God. Until I get to that frequency, I will be thinking about God. I'll be talking about God. I'll be complaining to God. I'll be saying, why am I not experiencing God? But only when I'm at the right frequency will I actually just suddenly pick up that vibe. And it's very subtle. Again, it's not big bang and fireworks. For some people,
Mm,
it is. For most, it is not. But we have to tune ourselves to a much more subtle vibration to catch God's energy. And that's our journey. So just keep showing up every day, and you will get more and more subtle, and it will
mm,
happen very sweetly. And if you look back your whole life, really honestly, I'm going to suggest that God's support has been there. It's probably why you're still here.
mm. Absolutely. And the two things I think would help very much is, well, three things: patience, be very gentle with yourself, but persevere, like Judy was saying, because
Mm,
that's the key. And I like this comment from Mahinder saying, Katrina, you can do the course as many times as you want, to really
mhm,
get it completely. Because sometimes different teachers, may mention something which could work. But please be very patient with yourself. And if your faith is there, I promise you magic will happen. Okay.
mm,
Lovely
mm.
session. So hang on, there was Nona is asking, what do you think the difference between faith and trust? I mean, you've touched on it, right?
Mm,
So we've talked about hope and blind belief and belief, etc. But anything you want to add to that?
mm. I
Faith
would
and
say that
trust.
trust,
Oh, sorry. Let me,
yeah,
sorry. Nona's saying I usually use trust more in my life. And what's interesting
mm,
is, when you did that exercise about the chair, one of the
mm,
souls here said, that she just knew that there was going to be a chair. I think that's right. But you brought that up a couple of times, but I'm just trying to understand, how would you use trust more than faith? Um, is that then blind trust? Is that, what in your opinion would that be, Judy?
I can only speak from my experience. I haven't looked at an Oxford dictionary definition of the two, and I'm interested now, so I will. And maybe somebody can and share it with us in the chat box. But for me, trust is a more of a superficial energy. It's like a feeling, like I'm going to trust another person. Faith for me is much deeper. Like I might know that I can't trust this other person to do what they say because they don't usually. They do but I can have faith that that person enthusiastically committed to doing something and in the moment really believed they would.
Hmm.
I have faith in that there is a good intention underneath, and then they don't show up again. So I trusted them once, and now I'm not going to trust that they'll show up because I know I mean, I don't want to write them off too quickly. I
Hmm.
want to have faith that their intention is good, and I want to have faith that someday they may show up.
Hmm.
But I'm going to prepare myself accordingly so that I'm not left in the
Yeah.
lurch, right?
Hmm.
It's like what do they say? They say, have faith in God, but tie your camel. It's like I know the chair's there, and I looked to see that it was there. So I think trust is a little bit more of a heart energy, and it's more of a feeling between people. I think faith is much deeper. You can have faith in a soul's good intention, even though you know not to trust the personality because
Hmm.
it's got these particular flaws and therefore it might not, they might not do what they say. I don't know if that's helpful. Someone did it. Good. Thank you, Old, you did it.
Excellent.
That something is good, sincere, honest, and will not try to harm or trick you. Believe this one is true or correct. Okay, so that's trust. And I think we know from living with people that their track record, they show us. But underneath the faith that a soul is on a journey, and even if they show up in a very flawed way right now, it doesn't mean that that's who they are fundamentally. It means that's their current personality, their current expression. And so I might not trust that current expression, but I do
Hmm.
have faith that underneath that there is something much deeper in that soul. Yeah.
Yeah, that I think is fabulous. The way you've presented that, because that is, well, play with
Mm,
it. What can I
mm,
say? It's that time of the day and the session. And have to say, big thanks to Judy. It's wonderful to have you with us. And a big
mhm,
heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for joining us from different corners of the world. Your presence, curiosity, and questions have made this once just
mm,
special place of connection and reflection. So before we finish, I just want to invite you to our next one session, which is next Tuesday, 2nd of September, with Yogesh Sharda on the inspiring topic, shaping reality. This will be another very special talk. I don't know if any of you have not met him or heard of him. It'll be full of insights on how our thoughts, attitudes, and choices influence the world we experience. Truly not to be missed, and a wonderful opportunity for you to invite friends, family, and colleagues so they too can benefit. Finally, a big thanks to our wonderful translators. If, as I mentioned their names, if they can switch on the cameras, that'll be great. Manuel, Hocken, Pepe, Karen, Deepa, Marie Madeleine, Sister Ying, brothers, Anna and Emiliano. So really, big thanks to you all for your tireless service in making today's session accessible to so many. We now will ask Judy to share a final short meditation with us to close this morning's session. And thank you to each and every one of you. Over to you now, Judy.
Thank you, Madhvi. Lovely, beautifully held as always. And thank you, translators, and very sorry for the speed. Thank you, thank you. I know, I was doing my best. Okay. Okay, really, it's very special. So let's just have yeah, thank you. Let's just have a moment together in meditation. So I'll invite you wherever you're sitting in the world. If you're in your car, you can't close your eyes, but pull over, have a moment. But just wherever you are, just take a moment and come back inside yourself. Close your eyes if you can, just to feel your inner world. Be aware of your chair, be aware of the world around you, but turn your attention inwards. I'll invite you to see if you can hear your own heart beat. Do you feel your breath? Now that we have concentrated our awareness, I'll invite you to visualize a thread of light from your heart up to the center of the forehead, behind the eyes, and find yourself in that room in your head. This beautiful inner space, which is really the mind, the soul with the mind, the ability to see, to feel, to hear, to experience, to think, to love, and to have faith. So tune into this energy of faith, which is very deep in the soul and like a powerful underground river flowing through the soul at all times. And I'll invite you to use these affirmations with me. So repeat to yourself internally each of these 4 affirmations created for faith, to deepen your faith. So the first one, I have faith that the divine is supporting me. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. Just say it and see what it activates inside of you. I have faith that the divine is supporting me. The second faith, I have faith in myself and my commitment to learn and grow. Say it to yourself slowly, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. Say it and see what it feels like. I have faith in myself and my commitment to learn and grow. And now the third faith. This is faith in the theater of life. I have faith in life's natural cycles. I know that destruction makes way for new growth. So I have faith in the natural and life's natural cycles, and I know destruction makes way for new growth. So say that to yourself silently now and see how it feels. And the final one, I have faith in humanity awakening to deeper meaning, arriving at its tipping point. So I have faith in humanity awakening to deeper meaning and arriving at tipping point. And take a deep breath in. And I invite you to this week use those 4 affirmations and just see what happens. Okay.